Panther people, what's going on? Panther people, what's going on? The team's finally got a new quarterback in Baker Mayfield. And I'm going to let you know why. It is a win-win-win. Going on and watch Panthers post with Phil Perkins, and boy, oh boy, being the lone Carolina Panthers fan, or at least the loudest Carolina Panthers fan in Southern Ontario and Canada, I didn't need Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport or Joe Person to let me know that, Baker Mayfield is now Carolina Panther. I had friends DMing me on Twitter. I had them adding me on Twitter, on Instagram, being like, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you seen this? So it wasn't Adam Schefter who broke the trade to me. It was some bloke from St. Catharines, Niagara, Ontario, letting me know that the trade happened. And I got to say, you could take a look at some of my previous videos. I said that why it could be a good move. And so this is the trade so far, that what we know between the Cleveland Browns and the Carolina Panthers. Something we've known for a long time, that this was a match that was either that or the Seattle Seahawks. One of these two teams who are kind of mirror images of each other. Maybe not in this moment, but in the past, were possible homes for the former first overall pick in the 2018 draft. So the Carolina Panthers are sending a conditional 2024 fifth round pick to the Cleveland Browns for Baker Mayfield. The Panthers are paying about $5 million out of his $18.5 million salary. And so now they're paying Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield a combined $24 million to be on the team. So again, a conditional 2024 fifth round pick to the Cleveland Browns. And the condition, according to Joe Person, of it being a fifth rounder is if he plays 70% of the snaps as the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, that fifth round pick in 2024 becomes a fourth round pick in 2024. So a little bit more valuable. But honestly, if all is fine, it's worth it. It is actually less draft capital than to get Matt Corral, who may or may not see the field at all this year. But it is a pretty cheap price. They didn't have all the salary paid off by the Cleveland Browns, so they're on the hook for about $5 million, foreign change. Apparently, Baker Mayfield took a pay cut of about $3.5 million for the opportunity. Joe Person from The Athletic, who broke the story, as well as Josina Anderson, saying that Baker Mayfield met with Scott Fitterer and Matt Rule, and he had a good feeling about the direction this team was going. Because as you remember in that interview way back, months back, we were still talking about this. Baker Mayfield saying he'd love to see himself in Seattle in that situation. So he never really said Carolina by name. So hearing that he liked the opportunity that Carolina's offered him as a starting quarterback, potentially, then he liked it. He liked it all. So let's talk about why I think this is a good move. Now, caveat in all this, as I've said before, this is a Matt Corral channel. I want the best for Matt Corral. And this is another reason why it's a win situation for number 9. So, Baker, who still doesn't have a number at this point, I think the reason why he is who he is and where he got as a walk-on at Texas Tech, then moving on to Oklahoma, earning the spot there, winning the Heisman as an undersized guy. He's 6'1", being the first overall pick. No one thought he was going to be the first overall pick in that draft. It was Sam Darnold. That was one of the options there. Josh Allen was a project at this point. Lamar Jackson was a project. Josh Rosen was potentially a first overall pick. But the fact that he built himself into this, it's not because he's an exceptionally athletic human being. It's his drive. It's the chip on his shoulder. And there are reports that he may have, lost that a little bit with being the first overall pick, because it's tough to say that you got a chip on your shoulder like a Tom Brady who picked in the 6th round when you're the first overall pick. So we may have lost that a little bit. He's on those progressive commercials. He was super celebrated, as he should have been at times with the Cleveland Browns. But I think what's happened in the last year, the pursuit for Deshaun Watson, the Cleveland Browns selling their souls for Deshaun Watson, forgetting about Baker Mayfield, I think that put a chip back on his shoulder, a big chip. And I feel that, it's a good place to be because in Charlotte, because he's got a coach now who's got a big target on his back. So you got a guy with a chip, you got a guy with a target, you got Christian McCaffrey, who people aren't entirely happy with right now in his last 2 years of his career. You got David Tepper, who also has had really bad pub in the last year, besides Charlotte FC. And they have had some executives leave, but either way, they're doing okay. I think he's joining a franchise that wants to prove a lot to the league. And I think he wants to prove a lot to the league and prove a lot of people wrong that the Cleveland Browns made a mistake. So I think that is a good thing. And if, in the end of the day, and I've said this before in previous episodes, if we are Carolina Panther fans, we want them to succeed no matter what. Now, the Cleveland Browns could be succeeding no matter what. They're selling their soul, and we're seeing kind of an exodus of Cleveland Brown fans kind of switching over from Cleveland Brown to Carolina Blue because they love Baker Mayfield so much and what he stood for. We want the team to do well. And if this guy helps the team make it to the playoffs, 7 wins, 9 wins, whatever it takes in the NFC South, which is watered down, despite Tom Brady, you should be happy. You should be happy with that. So if that is the case, and he guides the Panthers to their first playoff victory since 2015, the same way he guided the Cleveland Browns in a much larger fashion, much bigger stage, their first playoff win in I don't know how many years against the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think that he gets paid what he deserves. I don't know what that would be. I don't think he's getting Patrick Mahomes money, but he's going to be getting more than the $18.5 million he's making. And so that's the way it is. And then you have, and then the other reason why this is a win is if you are a Matt Corral fan, the guy was picked where he was picked for a reason. He's not, CJ Stroud or Bryce Young or Justin Fields, who even still had issues as a first round pick. And he's clearly the Panther brass sees something in Matt Corral to trade up for him, but they also have seen something so far that maybe this guy should not be thrust into a position to start week 1 if he beats out Sam Darnold, or week 2, 3, or abruptly starting if Sam Darnold shits the bed and is awful or gets injured during the preseason. You never know. You don't want to ruin that rookie career right off the bat by rushing him into what I would say is a pretty good situation with the Panthers, but if it's too much for him, it could destroy his confidence, and it could take a couple more months or years to rebuild. And so he has been compared, Matt Corral, to a Baker Mayfield. So why not he learn from someone who's been that first overall pick, had that pressure, had that adversity? Because remember, Matt Corral was kicked out of one high school and put into another. Baker moved from one university to the other. Now he's kind of been kicked out of Cleveland. And so they kind of both have these gigantic chips on their shoulder, and they both kind of have a similar game, different stature. Who better for him to learn from than kind of, a professional who's been here for 4 years and people have compared him to in the past. So you're not ruining Matt Corral's career, and you're actually prolonging it for him to learn, because to put him out there if he doesn't deserve it, right? Because if he somehow loses the battle to be the starting quarterback of the Panthers and Baker Mayfield wasn't there and it's Sam Darnold and the inevitable happens that Sam Darnold sees ghosts again, now you're putting this rookie up there on center stage and he could choke or he could step up. You never know, but he could not be ready and it could ruin his career right from the get-go. So at least with Baker, you have a less of a chance of a mess up that you can buy Matt Corral some time to learn. And I think that is only a good thing for him. And, if it doesn't work out with Baker, this is the other win. If it doesn't work out for Baker this year, if it just doesn't happen and they let him go, that's fine. They spent $1 million and next year's maybe 4th round pick, assuming he played the whole season. And then under that year of tutelage or of learning, you put Matt Corral in. And if Matt Corral still is showing distant, capabilities to start in the NFL and the Panthers have a flop of a season, well then easy peasy for you guys who want to see scorched earth in Charlotte. You got Matt Rule out. Baker Mayfield had a 1-year deal. He's out. Matt Corral could be brought in, but a new coach and a stacked QB class. So you win there. Or the other win situation is Baker is cheap. Like I said before, just under $5 million, 1-year contract. You owe him nothing. Really. They say it's a QB competition. But if somehow Matt Corral, in this time that he's not with the team, becomes Russell Wilson as a rookie, and Baker is Matt Flynn, way underpaid compared to Matt Flynn, and Matt Corral has an epiphany while in his dorm room at Wofford, and then he just blazes out on the practice field in front of everybody, and then beats out Sam and what's his name? I already forgot his name. And Baker, if Matt Corral surpasses both of them, both in practice and during the games, then okay. Then Baker Mayfield is shot. You could call him a bust, or he just doesn't have the juice anymore. He got beat out by a rookie. And then If Matt Corral deserves it, earns it, then there you go. You got a starting quarterback. That's a rookie. That's way cheaper than someone that's already getting a pay cut in Baker Mayfield. It's wild that the highest paid quarterback in the room right now is Sam Darnold. But then you got a rookie that's cheap that you can build around, and you got a guy you picked up in a trade that you're really not paying that much. And then you got Sam Darnold, who potentially could be out of the building if there is a QB injury out there between now and the beginning of the season. So you got a rookie quarterback that people wanted anyways to start. And the only way that he can succeed this year is if he earns that spot. The worst way for Matt Corral to succeed is for him to be thrust into that position when he's not ready. But if he somehow earns it, it's a win for the Panthers because now they have a cheap rookie who is talented and taking him to the next level, surprisingly, and he's cheap for a while. And then you didn't pay a lot for Baker Mayfield, so it's not a big deal. And if you manage to still trade away Sam Darnold, forget about that. Just that situation right there is fine because after this year, Sam Darnold's out. And so now you have moving on forward on the Matt Corral train, okay? So I think that those scenarios all work out for everybody. I do have faith that the Panthers could make the playoffs with Baker because he's not coming into a crappy situation. I'm seeing, I really got to start quoting these people, but see that Carolina has a bad roster. I don't think Carolina has a bad roster. I don't think that's even close to being true. They have a defense that has studs everywhere. They got Brian Burns. They got Derek Brown. They got Jeremy Chin. They got Shaq. They got this rookie Brandon Smith. They got Frankie Louvu, who they're hyping up a lot. Like they're putting him out there. Like I think this is the second Joe Person report I've seen on Frankie Louvu, or Darren Gant did one, and then Joe Person got his turn to do some as well. He's going to be a monster. You got J.C. Horn back. I have high expectations for Dante. I got high expectations for wow. I'm a terrible fan. Keith Taylor. CJ Henderson. On the offensive side, you got Ikem Ekwonu. Like, remember him? Like, we haven't heard too much because he's a left tackle now. Naturally, you don't hear too much about them. But we improved the offensive line with him, Austin Corbett. And then you got the new center out of Baltimore. Again, completely just forgot his name. You're probably going to yell at me when you're watching this. You got a Christian McCaffrey who is looking like he's living life a little bit more. Like football is his life, but it looks like he's kind of being just a regular guy, and that might be good for his body. Maybe he adds a little bit of fat. Maybe it helps him be a little bit more flexible. But if you get a healthy Christian McCaffrey, an improved offensive line, you got acquisitions in the backfield to help Christian McCaffrey and Deontay Foreman, and you got Chuba Hubbard who's getting jacked. And then you got Robbie Anderson, who has told reporters that the context was wrong about his hate about Baker Mayfield, that he's locked in. You got the ascendance of Terrace Marshall. You got Tommy Tremble, who is at the tight end university with Greg Olson. You know he's picking up some tips from there. And then you got DJ Moore. Oh, yeah, that guy who routinely gets 1,000-plus seasons no matter who's throwing him the ball. And now you got a guy in Baker Mayfield who specializes in play action, which is Ben McAdoo's thing, despite what he has said about Baker during the 2018 draft process. Maybe I'm biased. I'm definitely biased, but I think that he could succeed. And who better to succeed against a team that kind of kicked you to the curb than the Cleveland Browns? And if I'm the NFL, maybe move that from 1 o'clock till 4 o'clock, because that's going to be prime time. That's going to be a lot of fun. People are going to be juiced. And speaking of that, the Cleveland.com put out an article about, kind of like a so long to Baker, that one thing that Baker Mayfield did. And if you look at the times right now, people going to football games, it's actually going down. And, to get the attention span of the younger generation just isn't there to sit down for a 3-4 hour game and to spend the money on gas and all this stuff. Tickets are expensive. Beer's expensive. Tailgating's fun. But what Baker did, according to Cleveland.com, this is not me. What Baker did is that he embodied and captured the attention of those less than 30-somethings Cleveland Browns fans. Because he wasn't a Josh Allen who's like 6'6", 250 Cam Newton type body type, He's a 6'1", maybe quarterback who just looks like a regular guy. He walked on at university. He's not blazing speed. He's not Lamar Jackson. He just looks like a guy. If you saw him in Europe somewhere on vacation, you wouldn't be like, that's an NFL player for sure. He just looks like a guy. And they mentioned how when he was at a Cleveland Guardians game, they weren't called that before, the Cleveland Indians, and they went to the Jumbotron to him, he's wearing the camo Indians jersey. He drinks a beer, sips it, Clearly staged, but it's fine. Grabs a beer, gets tossed to him, bites it, shotguns it. Woo! Everyone goes wild. Captures the attention of the 30 and under Cleveland Brown fans who've never known success in their life. And so you wonder, he's a very different type of quarterback than Cam Newton in terms of his magnetism via social media. He's just a younger guy than Cam right now, and he attracts, sorry to say it, like the university crowd, like the bro crowd, the younger crowd that just likes to go on TikTok and do ridiculous things. That's kind of who he brings, according to this article. And these are Cleveland Brown fans who are younger, who haven't seen success. They're Carolina Panther fans who, Ikem Ekwonu was in freaking high school during the 2015 season. It's been 7 years since that season. Kid was in high school wearing spectacles. And he was like, I remember that. I was like a snotty-nosed kid. And now he's a first-round pick. But there's a group of Panther fans who were 7 years old when that happened. And then from 7 till 14, they're in high school now. They have not seen a winning product. They have not seen anything to be excited about at the most important position with the team since that moment. And if he can transfer that to Cleveland, to Charlotte, and to the Carolinas, I think that is a good move. And I think the team is good enough around him. And I think someone like a Ben McAdoo is who, in a way, we got to remember, he brought back Eli's career before eventually shutting it down in favor of Geno Smith. I think he can help the Panthers. Right now, I think there are odds of they're winning. I don't know how betting works. I kind of understand that. But their win total for next year moved up from 5.5 games to 6.5 games. I think they can get to 7 or 8. And I think they can't win the division unless something happens with Tom Brady or Jameis Winston. He gets it together as well. But I think they could make the playoffs. I really do think they could make the playoffs. And if they do, that's all we could ask for. You might not have a shiny new toy a la CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. Guess what? The class after that, there's always going to be somebody better than these guys. And so when that time comes, that's just sports. You just flip the switch and you hope they learn from their mistakes and they go, hey, remember that time that we picked up Teddy Bridgewater and then we picked up Sam Darnold and then we picked up Baker Mayfield? How about we just go for a rookie this time? Let's change it up. I don't know. But I think it's a good situation. I think they make the playoffs. And as I said before, either Baker steps up, they go to the playoffs, that's all you could ask for, or somehow Matt Corral beats out him and Sam in training camp, and now all of a sudden you got a super cheap starting quarterback, a somewhat cheap second-string quarterback, and a really expensive third-string quarterback that maybe you can set off into the sunset to a team that, Mac Jones gets hurt, and then Sam Darnold, there you go. You're with Bill Belichick. So those are my thoughts. Let me know how you feel in the comments below, and maybe see you guys later this week. Maybe we find out what number Baker's going to wear. I have a theory that it's going to be number 11 because P.J. Walker currently wearing it, and that was Baker Mayfield's high school number. Probably won't be on the team anymore. All right? Let me know what you think. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at PanthersPost1. And on Instagram, I will tell you what that is. I'm pretty sure it's at PanthersPost1 as well. See you guys soon.